Welcome everybody to Drag Racing 96. I'm Steve Evans.
And I'm Bob Fry, and where are all the fans? Probably home watching their copy of Drag Racing 96. Highlights of a magical season, Steve.
Well, the reason the seats were empty, Bob, this was FIREBIRD Raceway before the season ever started. Only our cameras were allowed. Tony Pedregon, hired for the John Force team, a second driver in last year's car. How would it run? Oh, just awful. Only a $4.99 at $2.97. What did Tony's brother CRUZ think of this?
To have someone like John Force pick my brother to step into his car, it's just like A.J. Foyt or Richard Petty asking someone to take over their operation. And I think my dad used to always tell us, hey, you hang out with the best and you'll be the best. And I think it's a great deal for him, and I'm excited and happy for him.
A.J. Foyt and Richard Petty, I believe, show up later on in the tape. But Force, he shows up now.
I'd like to introduce our junior varsity team here. They only ran $4.99. They're a little off pace today.
They weren't off pace for very long. That was a dynamic 1-2 punch in the funny car category this year.
Just a week before the season opener in Pomona, final testing took place at Bakersfield. Was Force feeling threatened by his protege?
I know everything about CRUZ now, everything there is to know. Just kidding. But no, he's just a real nice kid, and they come from a background of racers, and he's doing a great job.
Let me give you the inside scoop. The Pedregon's father, a Hall of is flaming. Anything with flames on it is okay with John Force. And as the Pedregons, Tony CRUZ and brother Frank watched on, what exactly was the game plan? Why did Force have Tony on the team? What was Tony trying to do in '96?
Oh, I'm here to take out my brother. Got to take out that McDonald's car.
Let the season begin. The Fairplex in Pomona, the Chief, Winter Nationals, CRUZ Pedregon in the McDonald's car near lane. A little tired of hearing about his brother, so he hammers out a 4.93, 307 miles an hour, the quickest and fastest ever.
Oh, baby, the McDonald's car serving notice that they're not going to give up without a fight. They won the championship in 1992, and the crowd went wild. At the far end of the racetrack, Steve broke the good news to a very happy CRUZ Pedregon.
All right, now, settle down. 493, 307, both ends of the national record.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, huh? You know, Steve, this thing's been knocking on the door all day or all weekend, and you know what? No matter how much you win in this sport, this thing will shock you every time. I'm just happy for McDonald's and Joe Gibbs. And how about this crew? These guys are the best. Dave Settles, Lee Beard, everyone. I'm just speechless. This is like winning U.S. Nationals.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said I'm speechless, and he just gave you about 2 minutes, Steve.
Yeah, 2 minutes from John Force I would call speechless. No one wanted a great start to the season more than Al Hoffman, the Western Auto car. This was round one against Mark Sievers. We'll let the video speak for itself here. Ouch! What happened, obviously, is Sievers caught on fire. Al Hoffman thought he saw some arm waving, and he interpreted that as turn here, Al. Big mistake, Bob Fry.
Yeah, it was. Sievers down there at the end of the racetrack with a safety safari, as they always are, right on the spot. Now watch this. Here comes Sievers' car. Hoffman thinks he's been waved over to pull off the track. Bam! Wow. And to say that Al Hoffman was not happy would be an understatement. Sievers' car would be out of competition. Hoffman won the race. Could he return?
You're right. Hoffman was hotter than the body on Mark Sievers' car. Funny car, round number one still. John Force looking on as his protege, Tony Pedregon, would face Richard Hartman in the car that Tony himself had driven in the previous season.
The Geronimo car in the far lane gave Pedregon a scare. Watch this. More than a scare. Say goodnight, Tony. What a maiden voyage for the Castrol 2 car.
John Force knew now that he had to accomplish it all by himself. If Tony was indeed placed in the field as a blocker, he wasn't there anymore. CRUZ Pedregon gave it up early. Tire smoke. John Force was there for the taking with only a 525 at 298.
A tough weekend for CRUZ. Big numbers in qualifying, nothing to show for it at the end of the weekend.
This was the last time we would see Gary CLAPSHAW, the gold car on the far lane. Al Hoffman put him away with a very nice 516. The repairs they made to the body held up. 250 miles an hour indicated he had a whole lot more. CLAPSHAW retired.
For the weekend and for the season, CLAPSHAW retired. That would set up the final. This is the way we expected to see it all year long. Force and HOFMANN, let's get it on, boys.
Force had the advantage at half track, had problems, shut it off. HOFMANN wins the Winter Nationals, 5:05 and 3:02. And he said, hey, if you see John, tell him to get used to it.
Well, talk's cheap, and we'll find out if HOFMANN could back it up in the next race. What do you say we go east? See y'all in the desert. Geronimo in the near lane. Paula Murphy, and she took that sea in the desert stuff a little bit too literally.
Paula Martin, a native of the Phoenix area, got even more familiar with the flora and the fauna of the Valley of the Sun as she cruised out into the desert. She was fine. The car wasn't badly hurt either.
What did she get more familiar with?
The flora and the fauna.
All right, now in the far lane, watch Al HOFMANN. He's going to flora it. A little too much fun or whatever that was. Meanwhile, right down Broadway, WHIT BAZEMORE, 520, 273. I say goodnight, Al.
Then it was John Force in the funny car semis up against a favorite opponent, Kenji Okazaki, the Mooneyes car. He knows Big Jim Dunn will throw the toolbox at him if he has to. Kenji was in it for about 300 feet. Something went wrong, and Force cruised into the final round at 5:14, 293. Not bad on the Phoenix track.
We checked up with Kenji later. He broke his fauna is what happened on that run. Finals, Castrol car, Kendall car. Take the Castrol car, give the points. And John Force gets the win. It's the first one in quite some time for the five-time Winston champ, a harbinger of things to come.
Yes, naysayers, there is a traction control device on this Pontiac. It's called John Force, and it's legal.
Hey, this old truck driver, I was starting to think I was pretty old. I ain't won a race, 5 championships, but I ain't won a race in a long time. Castrol and all the boys, Pontiac, Mac 2, I think they're starting to get a little bit worried, but the old Goodyear, she spoke to him. I got back on it. She hiked the front end truck. What happened to ETCHELLS?
Doesn't matter. You won it with a 19.
Well, let me tell you, we've needed this, and there's a lot of people like Action supporting us. Fram on Light, we're happy. We love y'all. Finally won us a drag race. Seems like it's been 5 years.
Go have a party for us.
We're going to do it. We're going to get drunk big time. Drink some of that Budweiser and Miller Lite right now. Right?
Right on, man.
I'm going to hug scare you. Hey, give me a hug. They all got scared, Rana. Oh, darling. You done okay? You bet.
How about that? That's the way the points looked. By the way, just to set the record straight, he hadn't won since Brainerd of the year before, and that's a bigger drought than they've seen out there in the floor and the fauna.
Even his crew approved.
Never happened. I can't believe that. Looks like the driver saved us again.
All right, Forrest, good work, bud. Nice
That's
drive.
video you never saw on network television, just right here. The Gator Nationals, Gainesville, Florida, third race on the NHRA Winston Trail. This was in qualifying. Watch the far lane. Tom Hoover, we have liftoff.
One of the very few times in drag racing 96 that John Force was not the focal point of a funny car run on the racetrack. Tom Hoover kind of wishes that he were.
This is the semifinals. Chuck Etchells, Del Worsham. Worsham in the far lane. What a game kid from California. The Auburn Foundry car looked like he had Etchells used up. Never count out Chucky. 5:07 at a huge 305 miles an hour.
A dominant performance for the new Kendall GT Rug Doctor car. Now watch this semifinal. John Force. Or was that Tony Pedregon? Force. It was Pedregon in the other lane. CRUZ. Can't tell the players without a program in drag 96.
Programs. Get your programs.
A great final round matchup under the lights at night. Just like at Phoenix, the end result, the same thing, right down the boulevard. John Force, look at the numbers. He was already starting to be the dominant single car in the class.
And as we look at the points after the Gator Nationals, notice that WHIT BAZEMORE had snuck into the top 5 with CRUZ, Al, Chuck, and John Force all in front of him. BAZEMORE starting to get some notice. So where do we go next? How about Houston Raceway Park, the Slick 50 Nationals? No, this is not an instant replay. It is, again, Tom Hoover, though, in the near lane, round 1. Oh, Tom, he's 2 for 2 on bodies. Is that